Power Parsha. I am so thrilled to be here with you. All right, welcome. Let's explore the Parsha. This week's Torah portion is Devarim, the opening of the book of Deuteronomy, and we have some fantastic themes to explore in our Torah reading. So what I'm going to do now, without further ado, is share my screen with you. So much easier to share when I'm not in a vehicle. Just saying, when I'm not on my phone. This is quite the mechaya. It's so convenient and refreshing to do it this way. We did not meet yesterday, which would have been the fourth reading. So let's do the fourth reading and the fifth reading today. Don't worry, you're in good hands. We have a good plan in place. Fourth reading picks it up in middle of Moses speaking about the sin of the spies, which we are very familiar with. We read about it as it happened in the Torah's narrative, and now we're reading about it 40 years later in the retrospective, the great final speech, the final address that Moses gives the Jewish people. He talks about how the Jewish people hated God in their tents, hating on God, and they were saying how God hates us and he's wanting to kill us and all this stuff. And meanwhile, the truth couldn't be further from that. God says you're not going to go in. And let's pick it up from the beginning of this reading. Moreover, God's this is Moses quoting God. Moreover, your little ones, whom you said will be prey to the indigenous nations in Canaan, and your children who on that day did not know good and evil, they will go there and I will give it to them and they will possess it. This is a powerful statement. The children, we're protective over the children. That's in general the nature of adults. We want to protect the children, and oftentimes what that means is we want to protect them from encountering any challenge or any adversity. We know today that there's a whole movement built on giving or embracing adversity. Rub a little dirt in it, right? Like grit. It's all about learning how to overcome. And here we have this notion. The people are saying, "Oh no, the nations they're gonna kill our children or take them captive," and God is saying, and Moses repeating it now to the people. Your children, you worry about your children, they're going to be the ones with the courage. They're going to be the ones that go in and conquer the land, and y'all are going to remain behind. That's going to be the turn of events. But as for you, God said, says Moses, right? Moses is speaking, quoting God, but as for you, of the earlier generation, turn yourselves around and journey into the desert by way of the Red Sea. In other words, all y'all are going to be in a holding pattern for the next 40 years. You're not going into Israel. Then Moses says, you, the people, answered and said to me, we have sinned against the Lord. We will go up and fight according to all the Lord our God has commanded us. At this point, the people realize their mistake and they have second thoughts and they say, no, we want to go up. We'll do whatever you say. This, the Kabbalists explain, is part of human nature where we can be very defiant and feel very strongly about something. The moment we realize how foolish we're being, we go the opposite direction. And this is where you have wild swings of emotion or wild swings of conviction. Because a moment ago, the Jews were convinced that they can't. And then Moses says, okay. So God says, you won't. And then they say, no, we want to do it. Now, you could say it's the old reverse psychology, but it's not a psychological ploy. It's just getting to the truth of the matter, and that is that oftentimes we make a lot of noise, but that's not where we really are. In truth, inside, we want the right thing, but our animal self gets the better of us, and we make a lot of noise about it. But when we push back against that with force, right, we put down the law, God lays down the law, Moses lays down the law, then the response is, we have sinned against the Lord. That feeling of full regret and contrition. And then Moses says the problem is that led to, as you and I know, because we talked about it a few weeks ago, that led to the next mistake. So every one of you girded his weapon and you prepared yourselves to go up to the mountain. In other words, you said, okay, so now we're going to go into Israel on our own. And God said to me, say to them, neither go up nor fight, for I am not among you, lest you be struck down before your enemies. And of course, we know that that's what happened. These are called the Ma'apilim, the ones who were stubborn, or the ones who were obstinate. They wanted to go up into the land of Israel after God had said no, not for 40 years. They said yes. They went up, and we know the end of the story. They were beat down. They were destroyed. Those that went up were killed. Okay, that's the end of the story of the spies. Again, not that it's happening now, but Moses is repeating it to the Jewish people, and the messages are clear, right? Number one, trust God. Number two, when God says no, then it's a no. Don't try to go up by yourselves. Okay. Next, now we're going to start Deuteronomy Chapter 2, which takes us into our fifth reading, which is for today, Thursday. Then we turned and journeyed into the desert by way of the Red Sea, as the Lord had spoken to me, and we circled Mount Seir for many days. This is important. We circled Mount Seir, Har Seir, for many days. This is the holding pattern. 38 years of wandering. They made a loop, a little loop. It's not like they stayed put for all 38 years or 39, 40 years. They looped a little bit. By the way, I'm saying 38 years because there was time of the 40 years before the sin of the spies and a little time after in which they journeyed to the land of Israel. So about 38 and a half years. Let's jump into the fifth reading. By the way, if at any point you have a question, please jump in and ask. Unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, this begins today's reading. And the Lord spoke to me saying, take a look at this. This is after the 40 years. You have circled this mountain long enough. Turn northward. God says, enough of the holding pattern. Enough of circling the mountain. You got to move forward. You got to move northward. And this becomes, I'm going to jump right into it. This becomes a call for each of us in our own lives. Enough circling the mountain. It's time to move. It's time to go. Whatever your mountain is, whatever your circling of the mountain is, everyone's got their own circling the mountain scenario. There's something in your life, guaranteed, that you want to do, maybe you need to do, maybe you thought about doing, maybe you've dreamed about doing, but you haven't done yet. Why? Because you're circling the mountain. You're checking it out. You're making sure from all angles you're navigating. Okay? At some point, God says, enough of the circling. If God was a New Yorker, he would say, enough of the cycling, right? Now it's time to move. And this becomes the call for each of us. If you know, and hopefully you know, what you've been circling, let this verse speak to you right now in this moment and give you the encouragement to take on that next challenge, that next stage of your life. All right, let's continue back inside. And God says, command the people, saying, this is so important. You are about Moses is speaking, retelling the story that actually just happened recently, because this is at the end of the 40 years, and he's quoting God and quoting himself. Okay. God told me, Moses says, move forward and tell the people the following. You are about to pass through the boundary of your kinsmen, the children of Esau, who dwell in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Be very careful. Very foreboding. I love this, right? Be very careful. It almost sounds like the beginning of like a video game. Like you get the narrative at the beginning. You are about to pass through the boundary of your kinsmen. They will be afraid of you. Be very careful. I don't even know what that means. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? But here's the upshot. The upshot is, God is saying, I want you to pass through the land called Edom. Pass through the land. Do not conquer it. Do not take it. Do not fight with them. Why? Because they are your mishpacha. They're your family. The nation of Edom is coming from the children of Esau, who is the brother of Yaakov, Jacob, who is the patriarch of the Jewish people. So these are your cousins. So you're about to pass through the boundary of your kinsmen, your cousins, right? So don't mess with them. Look at verse 5. You shall not provoke them, for I will not give you any of their land, not so much as a footstep, not even 1 inch of their land, because I have given Mount Seir, which is the land of Edom, to Esau for an inheritance. You shall buy food from them with money, and also water you shall buy with money. So support the local commerce, support the tourism, buy a postcard, right? Buy some bottled water, overpriced water. Yeah, support your cousins, but don't conquer. Okay, so that's what God says. And Moses says, that's what we did. Verse 8, when we departed from our kinsmen, the children of Esau, who dwelt in Seir, by way of the plain from Elath, from Itzion Geber, and we turned them past through the way of the desert of Moab. All right, bottom line is, cut to the chase is, God says, don't mess with Esau, with his land, and we didn't. Next, you're right, we're going to have 3 identical stories. That was the land of Edom, Esau's land. Now what about Moab? Same deal. Verse 9, and the Lord said to me, do not distress the Moabites, and do not provoke them to war. Once again, for I will not give you any of their land. Why? Because I have given Ar, right? That's the pirate land. That's where the pirates come from. Ar, joking. I've given Ar, or Ar in the Hebrew, to the children of Lot as an inheritance. And now we have more mishpacha, more family. If you recall, all the way back in the book of Genesis, we read this story about Abraham, the first Jewish patriarch, Abraham and Sarah. And Abraham has a nephew whose name is Lot. And they travel together for a while. Lot's father, who was Avram's brother, right? He was his nephew. So his brother, Avram's brother and Lot's father passed away at a relatively young age. So Abraham took Lot under his wing and really helped him in life. He rescued him when he was taken as a prisoner of war, the Torah tells us. Anyway, bottom line is it's family. Once again, Moses is saying that God told me, don't touch the land that belongs to the Moabites. Why? Because the Moabites come from the family of Lot. And Lot is, once again, your relative. Distant relative, but a relative. So don't take their land. Let's move forward. Let's keep on going. Same deal with Ammon. Same message, right? This is the third and final land that we were not supposed to touch. And when you approach opposite the children of Ammon, once again, neither distress them nor provoke them. Why? For I will not give you of the land of the children of Ammon as an inheritance, and for the reason, because I have given it to the children of Lot as an inheritance. So let me explain Lot. Okay, this gets a little bit interesting. Maybe you know this story. Maybe you don't. But the Torah tells us that Lot was living in Sodom. Remember this one? Lot was living in Sodom. And Sodom was destroyed by God. But before it was destroyed, God sent angels to rescue Lot and his family. Remember this? And the angels come, 2 angels, and they knock on Lot's door, and he invites them in, and they say, you got to get out of here, come with us. And Lot tells his family, and his sons-in-law think he's joking. He has 2 daughters. And there are, I think, sons-in-law. Anyway, they think he's joking. They don't listen to him. His wife escapes with him and his daughters, but his wife turns around. Remember that one? She turns into a pillar of salt. Yeah, she turns into a pillar of salt because she looked. She wasn't supposed to look. She froze. Whatever. So then they escape. So it's Lot and his 2 daughters, and they escape to like the hills or like caves. They don't know that it's just Sodom that's being destroyed. They think it's another flood situation. They think that the whole world is being destroyed. So the Torah tells us what happens next, which is a bit dark. Or, I don't know, dark. It is what it is. So, they thought the world was destroyed, and they were the only ones left. And they felt that it was important to populate the world, or keep it going, keep humanity going. So what did they do? So one daughter, the older daughter, I think it was the older one, the first night, she gets her father drunk, and then she is intimate with her own father. Yeah, Torah says. And she gave birth to a son. And the second daughter did the same thing the next night. They got pregnant, both got pregnant, and they both gave birth to a son. One was Ammon, and one was Moab. That's it. Those are the two children of Lot from his daughters are Ammon and Moab. So it's all the family of Avram. It's Abraham's nephew's kids. whatever. It's a complicated family tree right there, but it is what it is, and it's what happened. The bottom line is God says, don't touch the land. It belongs to Ammon, it belongs to Moab, it belongs to family. Let them have it. You're not supposed to be going there. What this tells us is something very important. I didn't read all the verses. I'm giving you the upshot of these 3 episodes, right? The one about Esav's family and then Lot's family. The message here is not every battle do we have to fight, right? Not every war needs to be a war. Sometimes you just move away. You just go around and distance from them. So yes, the land of Canaan that had 7 nations, that was meant to be conquered and settled by the Jewish people. But these other 3 lands, Edom, Ammon, and Moab, these 3 lands were not meant to be conquered by the Jewish people. They were meant to go around or go through peacefully and just separate, live and let live. So sometimes you have to engage. Sometimes you have to battle. Sometimes you have to transform. Sometimes you have to get in the mud, so to speak, and transform it. Sometimes you just have to let go. It's not your battle. It's not your fight. If they have an issue with you, that's their issue. It's not your issue. And you just move forward, move past, move beyond, and wish them well, and that's it. The message, again, in short, is choose your battles. You don't have to fight every battle. Sometimes you can walk away, and that's it. You don't have to fight. That's the message. I'll tell you a bit of a deeper message. The Kabbalah says. You might be familiar with the 10 Sefirot, the 10 energies. So the way they're divided in Kabbalah is there are 3, you'll see now the numbers line up. There are 3 intellectual powers, Chachma, Bina, and Dat, which correspond to Chabad. Chachma, Bina, Dat, which form the acronym Chabad. And 7 emotional powers, Chesed, Gevura, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. Okay, we don't have time to get into it in detail. We've done classes, Kabbalah and Coffee, we explore this Sunday mornings. I did a class on the Tree of Life. I think I did a class on the Tree of Life. I want to say that I did, but who knows? It's been a pandemic, so whatever. But I'm pretty sure I recently did a class on all 10 energies. Oh, maybe I did it for JLI. Whatever. Bottom line is 3 intellectual, 7 emotional. But get this: Kabbalah says that the main frontier of human work is working on our emotional attributes or character traits. It's working on our character, which is tied with the emotion. Working on our intellect is a little bit harder. And what I mean by that is changing not what you think, but the way you think is a little bit harder than changing the way you feel. Changing the way you feel, you just put new information in front of your mind and you can change the way that you feel. But how you think, how you process information, that is a little bit harder. So, the Torah says, God says, conquer the 7 nations, they are conquerable. The 3 nations, Edom, Ammon, and Moab, that correspond to Chachma, Bina, Dat, the 3 intellectual powers, that you might not be able to conquer. That, leave as is. Work with it. Understand how to leverage it to whatever extent you can work with it. But to fight that as your battle, when Mashiach comes, it says, then the land of Israel will expand to include also those 3 nations. It will also expand to those 3 as well, which means when Mashiach comes and the human being is more in a perfected state, then we can also work on our consciousness, on our subconscious. But today, probably not going to happen. And what I mean by that, just to make sure that I clarify, everything comes from somewhere else. So the emotions come from the intellect. But where does the intellect come from? Where do ideas come from? That comes from the subconscious. That comes from the beyond. Like, why do thoughts come to our mind, pop up in our head? Challenging what we're thinking or how we're thinking. It's really hard to know that. That takes a lot of work to decode, where all that stuff is coming from. That we might be successful in that endeavor, we might not be successful. The Torah says focus on the first frontier, the first front of the battle, which is how we're feeling. Let's first start with that, and then we can figure out, how we think. Start with how we feel, and then we go back to how we think. All right, so that's the deeper idea, the Kabbalistic idea of the 7 and the 3, the 7 nations that we are meant to take on, and the 3 that we're meant to say sei gesund, and we'll come back later. Let's see if there's one more theme that I wanted to share with you. I think that might be it. So let me recap what we did today. We spoke about the spies. Yeah, we spoke about the spies and how the children, there was concern about the children. God says, don't worry about the children, they're fine. It's you who are afraid. Don't blame it on your kids. The kids are fine. They'll be the brave ones that take the land of Israel. They're fine. Don't project. Oh no, the kids are. You're worried about you, not. Okay, so that's number one. We have to have faith. Listen, no projection. If you have an issue, own it. Right? It's your issue. Don't blame anyone else. Number one. Number two, the kids will be okay. Just make sure they're strong and educated, and please God, they'll have the strength to take on what they need to take on. That's the first message. Second one was stop circling the mountain. Make your move. Right? It's like a chess game. That's it. There's a timer. The timer's out. That's it. Make a move. Even if it's not the best move, it's good to make a move because you got to make a move. No more circling the mountain. Go tzafona. Go north. Go up. Okay. Next, we spoke about. Hold on. I'm reminding myself. We spoke about some battles fight, some battles let go. Sometimes we need to transform something by getting involved in it. Yeah, you have to get involved, and because you got to create change from the inside out. Sometimes not going to change. Lazim gain. Let it be as it is. You move on. Cut ties. It's okay. And the final point that I said is based on Kabbalah. We have a construct to understand why 7 nations were meant to be conquered, and these 3 nations, or 3 nations not. 7 corresponds to the emotions, which is a battle that we are meant to take on. The 3 correspond to the intellect, which ties into the subconscious, which is very mysterious and a little bit harder, a harder nut to crack, so to speak. So that we leave for a later time. We'll get back there when when we've done this other work. We'll get back there. Okay. That is it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was meaningful to you. Tomorrow, please God, we are back on Daily Power Parsha at 12. I don't know, I was saying 8. 12 p.m. A quick scheduling announcement. Tonight, we're back on for Tanya. 8 p.m. Think Different. Sunday, very, very important. Sunday, we have a magnificent event, Underground Secrets of the Temple Mount. You cannot visit Israel right now, but you can visit Israel virtually. We're going to have a virtual tour of the substrata, if that's the right way to say it, the subterranean reality or stuff beneath the Temple Mount. It's going to be amazing. I read an article, I want to say today or yesterday. I didn't read it, I saw the headline, about some sort of archaeological find that was just discovered in Jerusalem. I don't know if our expert is going to speak about it Sunday, but I will ask him about it to weigh in on it. I don't know if he's planning on speaking about it, but I'm going to ask him about it. So join us Sunday night. I think it's 7 p.m. Don't worry, if you get confused with times and stuff, I also get confused with times and stuff. So keep the emails handy or the website handy. And I think that's it. I mean, we have new courses starting, numerology, Jewish course of why. We have breaking news coming next week, early next week. We're going to release information about a Kabbalistic jewelry workshop led by our own Donna, who is with us here right now. So super excited about that. That is coming up toward the end of the month. And I'm working on a poetry event. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for more fun and games. Yeah.
Questions.
Sure.
I have 2 questions about Tisha B'Av, not
Yes.
about today. First one, can you work on Tisha B'Av?
So it's not a biblical holiday because it happened, 1,000 years plus after the Bible closes out, right? This is much later in Jewish history. So you're not going to have it's not a Yom Tov, it's not a holiday or a Shabbat where you have like a biblical prohibition. The custom is that we try to minimize our work. It's not prohibited in the biblical sense, but the idea is we try to focus as much as we can on the energy of the day. But there are people definitely go to work and find time to do work also. if you could do maybe some less hours or whatever. The idea is we try to focus on the energy of the day, which is about kind of introspection and good resolutions for the future, as well as hopefulness for the future. So if work will get in the way, then we try to minimize that.
Okay.
There are just to mention.
Do you need a minion to read Era?
Yeah. So we're gonna have services. We're just finalizing the details now. So just let me explain to everybody that's on this. Next Wednesday night and Thursday is the 9th day of Av. The day starts at night. So the 9th of Av is a 25 hour fast, like a Yom Kippur. The only 2 days a year that we have the full, 24 hour fast. Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, and Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the year. So it's the day in which both temples were destroyed. The Spanish Inquisition happened. World War I, Germany declared, the war in World War I. It's also the day the Warsaw Ghetto was liquidated. Just terrible calamities have happened. And it all started. I'm sorry. It's connected with the Spies came back, and the people panicked on the 9th of Av. Their tears of, oh no, God hates us, that was the 9th of Av. In fact, the Medrash says, God says, you're crying for nothing. There's nothing bad is happening. You're crying for nothing. I'll give you a reason to cry about on this day. And so this becomes a day in infamy, a day of sadness. Anyway, so Wednesday night, we'll be having services in person. Maybe we'll stream it also because it's not a holiday where work is prohibited. So it's going to be Wednesday night. I don't have the times, but we pray the evening service, the Ma'ariv, and then follow that, we read the book of Lamentations, the book of Eicha. Now, usually we also show like a film or something that with the theme of the day after services. We may show something. I'm not sure yet. Again, we're just finalizing over the next day or two what we're going to do for that. The next day also we usually gather in the morning. It would be Thursday morning, for services and the reading of kinos, which are prayers of supplication that talk about the events of the 9th of Av and our thoughts about that. Beautiful poetic Hebrew prayers, and then there in the evening or late afternoon, evening of Thursday, we would gather together to daven mincha, and then Ma'ariv, and then close out the fast with a small break fast. I don't know. Again, that's typically what we would do. This year we're just finalizing it, so stay tuned for details on that. That might affect our class schedule. So Wednesday night, are we going to be doing Torah studies at 7:30? I know I'm asking the question. It's a good question that I'm asking. I need to look at that and check the timing. If the fast is starting, then I'm probably not going to do a class. Maybe we'll move the class to Tuesday night. I don't think we have a class yet starting Tuesday. Maybe I'll move it a day earlier. I'm going to take a look at that. Thursday night, we're not going to be doing the Tanya next week. I'm not sure if I answered your questions. I'm just talking now.
The question was, do you need a minion to read the book of Lamentations?
You don't. You can read the book of Lamentations on your own. Yeah, you can read. I'm sorry, I totally did not answer your question.
Okay.
I just went off on the whole schedule.
That was interesting information.
Yeah, no, you don't need a minion for it. You just say it. You read it. It's not. There's no scroll. You just read it from a book, from a booklet, or from online. Whatever. Yeah, however, you get the text. There's a special tune that normally there normally is a reader, a leader, who reads it with a certain tune, but you can read it in any language. I should mention the prohibitions of Tisha B'Av are pretty much the same as Yom Kippur. So no eating and drinking, no leather footwear, no bathing or anointing with perfumes or oils, no intimacy. And there is an additional one, there's an extra one that we do on Tisha B'Av, which is that until midday this year on Thursday, so until the Jewish midday is not exactly 12 noon. It's like nowadays it's a little bit depends on the sunrise sunset times, whatever. It's probably around maybe 1:15. So until that point in time, from the night, we sit on a low chair, kind of like when a person, God forbid, mourns the loss of a loved one, sitting shiva. So we don't sit on a regular chair; we sit on a low chair. We do the same on Tisha B'Av. Why? Because we're mourning. It's a national day of mourning. So we do that. We don't do it the whole day. We do it only until midday. So if you're gathered in shul on a typical year, or maybe even this year, depending on what we do safely, people sit on the floor, or we have those like kid chairs or bean bags or something low to the ground, just to indicate the sadness of the day. Oh, I can stop sharing it now. Look at that. Who would have thought?
And can you sleep?
Yeah.
Not on the floor.
Yeah. It's fine. Yes, it's fine.
I know on Yom Kippur you cannot sleep, so can you sleep?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're allowed to sleep. You're 100% allowed to sleep. Now, yeah, no, it's fine. You can sleep. You can sleep on a bed. Some have the custom to remove a pillow. To take, if you have like two pillows, one pillow, half a pillow, whatever, to kind of reduce the comfort a little bit. We're meant to feel something, because if you don't look, if we're not feeling, then nothing's going to happen. The goal is that it be a positive catalyst, and you need to feel. This should be a catalyst to move with more intensity to bring Mashiach, to do whatever we can to make the world a better place and to heal all that's broken. You have to feel what's broken to want to heal it. And if there's no problem, then there's nothing to fix. So the goal is not to hurt ourselves, God forbid, too bad, but to feel something. So we fast. Yeah, it's a long fast, especially in Atlanta. It's a long day. It goes till 9:30. It's a long day. But listen, it's 1 day a year. Tisha B'Av, but Tisha B'Av is shorter. Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is shorter. This is the longest fast of the year. And it's hot outside, and you get thirsty. So listen, drink some Gatorade beforehand. Get your electrolytes going, and that's it. What could go wrong? All right. If you want to learn more about what happened on Tisha B'Av, Tisha B'Av means the 9th of Av. That's literally what it means. So it's a day on the calendar. So if you want to know more about what happened on the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, and about the laws and customs of the fast, I'm sure you can find it on Chabad.org, the central Chabad website. They have, I'm sure, sections on that and the various customs and laws. So feel free to jump in. The good news is that once this is over, then we can focus on the joy, right? We can then rebound with an even greater joy and intensity following this time. But even now, we're still going to have also some joy. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right. By the way, you should know Hasidic custom, which is, kind of off the record, but on the record, because it is what it is. Hasidic custom was to always have a little bit of irreverence on Tisha B'Av. Everyone's serious and everyone's praying and it's a sad day. Some guy is throwing those sticky things from the bushes that stick to your clothing. Some guy is pelting everybody with those, just on the side, quietly. I'm just saying, growing up, that was always the thing, because you have to have a little bit of escape, right? A little bit of a puncture hole into that pressure cooker to just have a little bit of the Hasidic positive, joyous spin, even on the day of Tisha B'Av. Again, unofficially, officially, unofficially, that's what might have been done in Chabad circles. But I digress. All right, I wish you a wonderful day and hope to see you tonight and tomorrow, and the party rolls on. And don't forget, Sunday at 7, Underground Secrets with Temple Mount. He's amazing. Share the word with others, right? It's online. You don't have to show up any specific place. Comfort of your own home. Share with family and friends wherever they may be. All they need is a connection. All right. Yom Tov, not Yom Tov. Yom Tov, have a good day. We'll see you.